Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Struggling Hunters, where we're pushing through our struggles every day to get better. I'm Eric, and
I'm Joe,
we are the
struggling hunters.
tonight's episode. We're gonna kind of just go over why we like to hunt and what drives us to hunt, and try to get better at this game, and kind of just go back and forth a little bit, whatnot. But at first, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Joe and ask you the question: what drives you to hunt the way you do, Joe? Or hunt period, I should say.
I think we probably discussed some of it in previous episodes. I think we allude to, or I've alluded to a little bit of that, like here and there, bits and pieces. So some of this may not be new, some of it may be new. If you're listening to it for the first time, it's totally going to be new. But um, but why hunt? Why, or even hunt the way I do? A lot of that, you know, I think we've mentioned before, the uncles, family members, they've all have something to do with of where that passion comes from. And I don't know, sometimes, you kind of wonder how much of it is a passion versus a tradition, and it's hard to really say how much of it belongs to what, like put a percentage on it, like I can't really say it's 50-50. I can't really say which one's more than the other because, traditions of family hunting and a passion for it, because I really do love being in the outdoors, um, for one, and that gives me an opportunity to be out there, and two, like we've talked about in our other podcast with about Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, and that tradition that they've left, that it's just, you know, that and trying to maybe go get in contact or come to grips of thousands of years of tradition. What do we have anymore that allows us to go back to the bare necessities or like really take away all modern life um and just kind of be for a minute. I know it's probably sounding a little more philosophical now, or my description, but in a way that's kind of what it is, I guess, for me, is all that boiled into one, and getting out and having that time to kind of be me, I guess. Like there's no one out there pushing you but you. you know if you're going to get up in the morning, that's on you. If you're going to take off hiking and go someplace, like that's up to you. And, the deer don't care, the elk don't care if you do or don't. Well, I guess they do care, because if you are out doing it, I'm sure, like you're just trying to harvest them, so they probably don't want you to. But in the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. um but and just, it's a time to, I guess, honestly, too, a time to reflect about who I am and what problems I have, a lot of time, or what I'm going through, trying to understand what I'm going through and to better myself or with what I'm going through too. Um, but then at the same time, it's also a time that I'm hard on myself. If I'm not being successful, or if I blow something, again, it comes back to, that's on you and only you. So it's kind of like a pure, I guess, for me, a pure uh reflection of myself, or to be myself with uninterrupted. And I probably don't realize that as much as as when I'm out there, but that's, I guess, kind of how I see it. And I try to take some of that characteristics and apply them to my life. Is when you're climbing a hill and it's it's tough, or you want to give up, yeah, if you want to get somewhere, you got to keep pushing. You can't just, if you give up. Either have a couple times where I've been climbing up a mountain in the middle of the night, and I'm going through scrub oak that's as tall as I am, and I can't find any deer trails through it. And so the only way to get through it is I gotta just pull down and just go through it. Like there's and I've sat down frustrated and wanting to give up, but who's gonna come get me? You
Yeah.
know, I I guess search and rescue comes and oh well, what's wrong? Nothing. Just tired. You guys want to haul me out of here? So I guess at times my experiences out there that are purely me, I get to kind of reflect on that and then try to incorporate that into actual life scenarios. So it sounds a little philosophical, probably a little bit deeper than really wanted to go, or probably could even go a lot deeper than that. But to sum it up, it's just me being to get out in the woods and discover and finding me and working through thoughts and becoming a better woodsman, better hunter too.
Yeah, that thing that you said, about that, you going through that, I've been there a few times, going through those journeys of wanting to give up and be kind of getting yourself in a bad spot, and you're like, it'd be nice if I could get rescued right now, or
Yeah.
not. But that perseverance through that, the one thing that and I think you got to go through it a couple times to understand it, to enjoy it, or get familiar with it. But when you get to the other side, you get back to camp, or whatever you're going through, you get to your destination, uh, and you had those moments of doubts and wanting to give up and stuff. When you get back to your safe place or your safe haven, there's a sense of accomplishment about yourself that you tested yourself to your limits at that time, and and you feel it kind of gives you a set of confidence that, I mean, it kind of carries on with you for a lifetime. And I don't know, I always think of that whenever I'm in the woods and things are getting tough for me, or doing anything really. uh Kind of what you're talking about, going uphill. And I think you have kind of a saying or something. I've heard you say it before anyways, like an uncle told you something about, I don't
Uh,
know, you
well,
know
I
what?
don't. I think is what you're referring to, but it was my father-in-law. From I think geared towards like mountain biking. If you want to, if you want, if in order to earn your downhill, you got to do your uphill.
10-4, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
So
mean,
I was gonna say, yeah, like if you're, there's that hard point, but if you can just stick it out long enough, sometimes you can get rewarded with that coast of the downhill, the what like where you can just get in the zone and enjoy your ride.
exactly. And it's so true. I've put myself in positions like that. Mountain biking is one of them. Getting into places and being like, man, why did I even start this trail? But the downhill is so much fun.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's totally is. And kind of before we get a little too much further along the lines, I kind of wanted to circle back into what you're talking about. Like I you didn't say it, but it led me to think it. Like about becoming lost. At times, and how I've I don't know that ever necessarily been lost. I've been in new areas and have to like pick my way back. But it just reminded me of the quote. I was trying to remember if it was Daniel Boone or Davy Crockett, where I think it was Daniel Boone about being lost in the like how do you say it? I would never say I was lost for 3 days, but I was bewildered or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I was bewildered a time or two, but I've never been lost. Or I was bewildered
For
for
three
about
days.
3 days, but I was never lost. I think that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of think about that and it's kind of interesting. Like how, I don't, not to go too far back, but you know, you kind of think about that and it's like, God, can you imagine being like, it's interesting. He used the word bewildered, but you know, more or less lost, not really knowing where you're going, and then not giving up to, you know, and finding your way out.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's well, kind of going into that, the one thing for me that I've always loved about hunting is I think hunting kind of gives you that edge, you know. I mean, whether you ever have to worry about trying to live off the land, like in this day and age, whether that's ever true or not, I'm proud to be a hunter. I'm proud to grow up the way I did. I think I know there's people out there that are way better at me at surviving off the land than I am. But the knowledge that I know, I feel like I have a pretty good chance compared to some other people in this country, especially in today's society, where I'm like, I think I'll survive all right, you know, and that's why I like it though, because like every time I go out, I learn something new about myself. I put myself to a test, even if I didn't know it was a test at first. Like, you know, I reflect back on my hunting my hunting trips, and I'm like, wow, you know, I didn't know I was capable of this or whatever, and it puts my knowledge to the test every year. And that's what really amps me up about hunting is giving me that edge every year and learning something new every year. And there's so much more to learn also, and that's what's exciting about it is hunting. It has an element of survival. It has an element of trying to find your food. You know, I mean, the way we kind of do it, you know, we usually go in prepared and we have our food, but at one wrong turn or one dead battery, if you have Onyx, you're gonna have to find your way back one way or another. So you know, it gives you that edge to kind of be aware of your surroundings, and that's what really drives me, especially like the older I get, and being a parent too, wanting to teach my kids that same thing. And one of my biggest ambitions toward hunting in my later years versus my younger years is now that I'm in my later years, I want to I say later years like I'm that old. I'm only
I was gonna
36.
say, geez, Eric, go, we're going into retirement the next year or two.
I I kind of realized what I was saying, so I was like, I better clarify what
Where's
I'm
your jazzy?
yeah, right. But I guess what I'm saying is as I get older, my perspective changes. And my perspective now is I want to get better every year and show my kids uh the tradition of hunting and show them the way of the land and I guess the real thing is keep the hunting tradition alive is the best we can, because we're already a small community, and I mean, I'm not trying to get too political. Sometimes I'm more willing than probably Joe is about having a little bit of controversial statements, um but it is true. I mean we're already a small community, even though like we're a multi-billion-dollar community. We spend a lot of money on our hunting gear.
True.
We're a small community in comparison to popular culture, and and I want to try to keep that community up as much as possible. And that's really my ambition behind the podcast, is talking about hunting and getting people excited for the experience of hunting, or at least respecting the experience of hunting. And you know, hopefully through talking and education, even people that never thought of hunting or doesn't really like hunting could at least understand or respect the perspective of a hunter.
Right.
See that 3 times in a row.
I was gonna give you an attaboy on that one.
I was kind of proud of myself, to be honest with you.
Like, man, is he saving this up and using it now? Like, how long have you been sitting on this? He's been practicing.
I had my Wheaties this morning, so I'm a little on top of stuff. Um, no, but that's as I've gotten older and my perspective has changed. That's kind of where the direction of where I want to go as I get older and stuff is sharing the knowledge with the younger generation and keeping the younger generation excited and involved into hunting. And I mean, as far as this podcast, I mean, we talk about all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, that is one of my ambitions to it too, and share the knowledge with my kids. But going back to like hunting in general, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but uh, growing up, I was just surrounded with it. Like that's kind of all I knew, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every fall I go out deer hunting or elk hunting. And whenever I was real little, I was going with my dad, my uncles, and whoever would take me, pretty much, and going out and hunting for deer and elk, and I grew up with that, and I grew up with that bug, and and just always wanted to do it, and wanted to get better and better every year, and to kind of fast forward, there was a period of time for me that I regret, that I always kind of beat myself up for, I should say, is when I first moved out to Colorado from Idaho. I didn't hunt for the first like 3 or 4 years, uh, between working all the time and kind of, I went through it where I asked myself the question. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna really ever hunt, or and I got into other hobbies and stuff. I've said this before on the podcast, but I was riding motorcycles and kind of really into that, and that kind of took up a lot of my time. And but yeah, as far as the hunting, I kind of got out of it for a second, but it always called me. I remember every fall, the weather would change just a certain way, and I'd step out of the house or wherever, and I'm like, oh man, this is hunting weather. I need to be out hunting,
Yeah.
and and eventually, I kind of got to know the areas a little bit better, and I'm still learning the areas even after all these years. Um, I'm still learning the areas, uh, but that was kind of part of it too. Just being in a complete new area, I'm like, I don't even know where to start. And anyways, fast forward, like I said, 4 years or so, I went out hunting, and it was kind of game set match. After that, I kind of been into it ever since, and I don't ever see myself getting falling out of it ever, but hunting just has always called me every year, and I'm not the best hunter. I mean, that's part of the reason we're the struggling hunters. I mean, it's kind of obvious, I guess, but I try hard, and like you said, just trying hard every every year, trying hard, trying to get better, trying to figure out the animals, getting more and more used to your areas that you hunt. Uh, just, I mean, the whole list of things, and getting that
Well,
experience in it drives me. I mean, it just, and then talking about it every week. I mean, that's where me and you kind of have a we don't ever let hunting get away from us, because every week we're getting on here saying, hey, let's talk about some more hunting. So like, I especially the last year, I mean, I just think about hunting 24/7, it seems like, and it's fun. I love it. I love being attached to something like that, and the traditions of hunting, and being attached to the fact that we're doing something that people are revered to, or revered, like Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, all these years later, and we're doing the same thing to an extent, or or kind of an extension of what they did, or if you will.
yeah.
So
Right.
um
Yeah. It's not so much of the survival thing as I guess as it is more of like, you know, it's kind of a goal you get to say, you know, like I have never been successful at it, but you know, I want to be a better hunter. It's been a goal of mine since I was probably 18, 17, 18 to have enough wild game in the freezer to feed my family. I have not been successful. I mean, I've had a couple deer, you know, here and there, and but like I've never year after year been able to like have meat in the freezer. And I just that's just kind of a goal. You know, it's not that I need. That's not a need, but you know, luckily, you know, it sounds, you know, maybe, you know, I guess I don't know how it sounds, but you know, we don't have to have that as a goal. You know, like where Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, it was like a survival thing that they love doing anyways. And for us, it's more of a, you know, I guess a hobby. You can call it a hobby, but you know, it's more than a hobby at times, or you know, it's something you enjoy. And it's also in a way, like we talked about, I'll probably just put a different spin on it, but it's a way to control your survival instincts or your uh what's the word I want to use? Control like how bad of an experience you have in the woods. You know, you can go out there with as much food as you want to put in your pack, go out there with the, you know, the right boots, the right pants, the right whatever, to where there's no way you're gonna not survive if unless you really get yourself in a situation that becomes unsurvivable. But you know, being well planned, you can control the amount of severity that you struggle, that you that you have to hunt, you know. And then being well planned, you know you're coming back, you know what to put in your pack. You know, that's the other thing I kind of, you know, in a way have enjoyed over the years is building my pack to have what it has for me to survive.
Mm-hmm. Kind of every year going, I don't think I need that, but I definitely need this. And
Right. Or, you know, like, well, I really didn't need this last year, but, you know, like it would be nice to throw in some extra food or extra water. Yes, it's extra, but yes, I know I can adapt my pack to be able to have that in there all day.
yeah, water is important. I actually got a story about that. I went hunting. This was this was here in Colorado, and it was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere around there. And I guess I underestimated the hike that I was gonna do, and I took 2 bottles of water, and uh, I went on some pretty steep stuff. And long story short, I drank the 2 bottles of water on the way up. And I had no water on the way back down. I was so thirsty by the time I got back to the pickup. That was a tough day.
Seeing like,
Honestly, probably shouldn't have drank as much water on the way up, but we were going up this really steep stuff, and I was in a little worse shape than I thought I was, and it was bad. I'll put it that way.
seeing that's like, you know, like kind of case in point, like, yeah, he had this horrible experience, but yet you survived it and you could have turned around at any point. You're of the frame of mind to be able to do that. I'm sure I wasn't with you, but you know, if it hit the point, I know that you would have turned around. But you know, you made it through, you came back and you said, hey, that really sucked. You know, you picked up your lessons, whether it's I'm never doing a hill like that again, or if I am doing a hill like that again, I'm gonna know when, or you know, how much water to take and kind of when to drink that water. You know, like, you know, if I only have 2 bottles, I probably don't want to drink them all at the bottom quarter of the hill.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you ever noticed, but that's why I usually try to pack about 4 to 6 bottles now. I don't
Yeah.
ever do the 2 bottle thing anymore. Um, but yeah, kind of further that story, about a mile or so away from the truck. I think it was about a mile. Anyways, there was this stream, and I don't know. I mean, I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but there was a stream that was running through and it was pretty fast. And I was like, I know you're not supposed to drink water, but I am so thirsty. And so I just kind of I was like, you know what? It's almost like a natural filter because it was really fast water and all this, and I was like, at least that's what I was saying to myself. I'm not saying that that was true
Talking yourself into drinking it. Yep, that's good. No, look at all that. There's the reasons why.
exactly, but I will say though, I never did get sick. So I mean, it is what it is. I got, some would probably say I just got extremely lucky, um, but my theory was I'm like, well, it's fast water. That means it's moving fast. It's not still sitting there getting all kinds
Right.
of crap in it or whatever. So I was like, it's good enough for me. So I took a few drinks and went, but yeah, even by the time I was never so happy to have water though. Like by the time I did get back to the truck, because I had like a whole case in the truck. I was never so happy to have water, man. I drank water all the way home, just bottle after bottle.
Right.
That probably wasn't even. I mean, that was like the most like as far as water. I mean, I was pretty thirsty or whatever, but that probably wasn't even my most toughest like time ever out in the woods or trying to like conquer something. But as far as water goes, it was pretty tough because I just didn't, you know. But
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, that uh, hunting just. I mean, I think it's great. I wish more people got into it and practiced it and to a point. I mean, it's always kind of like a fine line there. You want the hunting community to be strong and you want it to be flourishing and uh, but then at the same time, I feel like I've said this before, but at the same time, you have people go out there to go hunting, and then there's people camped right next to you or close enough to you. You're like, oh man, what are all these people doing out here? So it's kind of a give and take thing, but I enjoy seeing a lot of people out there hunting though. I mean, I know that my chances are kind of a little less sometimes whenever if there's too much pressure, but I also kind of look at it as, ah, man, this is good for the hunting community.
Right.
And
But yeah, yeah, it is. Like we got to keep that hunting community strong. And I guess kind of in closing too, like we'll kind of just wrap it up here. But on that note, you want a strong community, you want this to thrive. Like me and you don't quite have the personality to carry it all on our own. It takes a lot to do that. But and then one last closing thought is the nice thing about hunting is getting if you can get the younger generation out there and off their phones, and they can realize of what they can do themselves. So that's kind of a like I said, it gives you a controlled environment if you planned well to have a good time finding where those strengths and weaknesses are in the woods for yourself.
for sure, you reminded me of it, but you said it earlier about when you go out there in the woods and spend some good time out there. Uh, there when you're living your daily life and in the city or in town or whatever, but you're living your daily life, doing the thing with hunting and or not hunting, but work and all these little micro stressors that kind of build on top of you. The one thing that I love about going out in the woods and hunting and doing all that is every time I spend a few days out there and kind of just decompress from all that. I mean, I come back so recharged to life and like all those little stressors are kind of just gone, at least for a small period of time. Then and that's one thing that always drives me out there is I'm like, man, I just need to get out in the woods for a few days and just kind of decompress. And the more stressed you are, the other thing that actually helps with that is probably mountain biking, at least for me, mountain biking and motorcycle riding. Whenever I was riding motorcycle, and I mean, kind of going down a rabbit hole now, I guess, but when I was motorcycling, um, I'd jump on that motorcycle and, go hit the single track and just try to, get a good ride in. But if there was something that was bothering me, it just seemed like it just all go away as soon as I hit the throttle. Um, so yeah, that and mountain biking did the same thing too. Just, I think like things that take your focus to another place, you're not setting on all your stuff.
Right.
Kind of, because whenever you're done and you get to the top of the hill and you've earned your downhill, kind of that mentality, you kind of realize that everything that's been stressing you out is a lot smaller problems than what you thought beforehand.
Right.
So I don't know where that was going, but it seriously is something that, I mean, I love doing. I love decompressing that way. And like I said, getting out in the woods is one of them that, um, this last hunt season, I spent more time out by myself than I probably ever have before. Usually I've always had a hunting buddy of some sort, and I spent quite a bit of time by myself. And I mean, what was it, like 3 or 4 days? Three doesn't sound that extreme, and it wasn't that extreme necessarily, but by myself, like I never, always had a buddy or somebody with me, and so yeah, that was weird. It was kind of weird, but then I got used to it a little bit and got used to all the voices in my head. And no, it was good though. It was fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It's fun, good to get out there and, you know, find out slow down enough to find out maybe who you are or what you really think about some things, giving you the time and the peace to reflect on that. But but yeah, so I guess with that, we'll probably just close it on up. Um, do you have anything else you want to add to it? No.
No, I'm good. We kind of went on a little longer than I thought we would. So Joe, do
Okay.
your thing. Do what you're best at and get us the heck out of here.
Thank you guys for listening to me and Eric here go over a couple of our thoughts and ideas and kind of maybe a little bit more who we are as hunters and human beings. Give us a like, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, tell a buddy, and um, I guess at the end of the day, just keep pushing through your struggles and uh, keep going and one foot in front of the other, and look forward to hearing from another podcast from the struggling hunters. Talk to you guys later.
Till the next time, guys.